We always say whenever you want to know something about a civilization or culture, better to visit museums. Well, museums will be the best place to learn anything about a country, about a nation, civilization. In Egypt here, we have many different museums. It is not only when we talk about ancient Egypt or the history of Egypt, it is not only about the pharaohs or the stones ages, but also we have a lot of things to talk about. We are starting from ancient Egypt till modern Egypt. Well, today we are here in one of the best places to learn more about modern Egypt. Well, actually we are here in the Royal Carriages Museum located in Bulaq. We're going to find out more about this museum and more about the masterpieces exhibited inside the museum. The Museum of Royal Carriages was established during the reign of Khedive Ismail in the last quarter of the 20th century. He was the first one to think of founding a special building to show off the royal carriages and horses. This building was originally called the Department of the Khedive Carriages when it was first established, and then the name was modified to become the Management of the Royal Stables, which was one of the three managements that used to follow the instructions of the Department of the Khedive Carriages. As many different periods of time went by, the building was transformed to become the Museum of Royal Carriages because it was used to host the carriages, horses, and even their ornaments that used to belong to the members of the royal family in Egypt. The museum also hosted the horses of the Khedive and other horses that were owned by other past royal family members. Experts, doctors, and vets were brought from all over the world to take care of the horses. In addition to the skilled workers who used to maintain and restore the royal carriages for display. department of the Khedive carriages did not only manage the horse carriages of the Khedive and his family, but also used to take care of the automobiles of the family that used to own valuable, expensive cars from different world class. In the past, the building of the museum used to consist of different sections. The first was for the horse carriages, the second was for the horses' stable, and the third was a vet's clinic. The fourth was a complete ambulance office, and the last section was specified for the workers to live and sleep in. In 1969, the Governorate of Cairo took around 3/4 of the surface area of the Museum of Royal Carriages and transformed it into a garage. Afterwards, in 1978, some of the most remarkable carriages and uniforms were chosen to be put on display, and the rest of the items were stored in special warehouses. The museum also used to have a large open courtyard, and this was where the royal carriages were prepared before the Khedive or any of his family members ride in any of them. The facade of the Museum of the Royal Carriages consists of architectural portraits in the shape of horses' heads, and it was more than 15 meters high, forming a notable scene in one of the less historic neighborhoods of Cairo. The museum has vertical geometrical trim and wonderful models of artificial horses that were used to explain the muscular anatomy of the horse. The Museum of Royal Carriages exhibits around 78 historically valuable royal carriages. 22 carriages of this collection were gifts that were presented to the rulers of Egypt since the reign of Khedive Ismail and until the ruling period of King Farouk by other kings and emperors of Europe.
I want you to tell me more about this museum, the Royal Carriages Museum. Definitely here it is completely different. We are talking about pieces, original pieces, taking us back to several years ago.
Yeah. Actually, this museum was established at the time of Khedive Ismail, talking about 1872. The more important thing, that place was used like a stable for the horses, and later on was changed into museum at the time of President Sadat, 1975-1976. Then being abandoned, let's say 2001, started the restoration and the reconstruction of this museum. But that was due what was happened here for the uprising during 2011. The work resumed later on in 2017 and was inaugurated recently about 2 weeks ago. The walls and the decoration around, even this ceiling, is original, as it used to be at the time of the founder Khedive Ismail. But there is another.
Tell me more about the area in which
Yeah.
we are standing right now.
This is, let's say, the main hall or the court of the museum, and this court exactly resembling the streets at that time. I mean, in the beginning of 1900, at the time of King Fuad, because this place being renovated and being reconstructed at the time of Fuad. That's why up there we can see the letter F written above the facade or the part of the museum. Fuad, Farouk, Fawzia, let's say this family was called, the names started with the letter F. That's why I can call it the F family. The pavement, as we can see, it's paved at the time of that
And this
king,
is original.
the original pavement of basalt stone. All these carriages, we have different carriages. We call it alai. Alai means in English language marshal. Alai carriage means that is a, let's say, it's not anybody can ride this carriage, just the king or the sultan or
So
the
these are
khedive.
the royal carriages of the age,
The royal
of that
carriages
age.
of the age at that time. We have another carriages called half alai. Half alai means the vizier or the minister can ride this carriage. There is another carriage that we are going to see for goods or for furniture's transportation, as we can see. Talking about the royal family in Egypt, established by the head of that family is Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali being the governor of Egypt in the name of the Ottomanian Sultanate. He was appointed as a, let's say, agent at the beginning. That was in 1805. Then he could independent from the Ottomanian Empire, but later on, or later after that, been kind of struggle and conflict between him and the Ottomanian Sultan. After that, he kept only Egypt and Sudan as a kingdom for himself and his family. Then he was followed by his eldest son, Ibrahim Pasha. Then we have Abbas, then Said, and so on, up to the last king descendant from this family was called Farouk. Farouk being, faced by the revolution or the uprising of 1952. That's famous with Colonel Nasser.
Just because I can see a portrait behind, let's go, before we enter, to find out more about it. I can see, I think it's a portrait of the whole life of that street as it used to be during that period of time.
Actually, it's an original photo.
Say that this portrait is a symbol of the good old days.
Yeah, this picture or this portrait dates back to the time of King Fuad. Fuad, he was at the beginning Sultan, and then he, after the constitution of 1922, he got the title king, as a king of Egypt and Sudan, and then was followed by his son Farouk. This picture showing Ramses Street, and that street was called Nazli Street. Nazli, she was his wife, the King Fuad's wife, and the mother of King Farouk. As we can see there, the alai means that carriage, means marshal in Arabic language and English language, as I said. And the alai was a right for the king, only for the king and the emperor, or for the sultan. Anybody else from the royal family, they had their own carriages, little category of these carriages have alai. And as we can see, the beauty of the architecture, and some people standing there on the terrace looking to the procession. It's kind of procession, that's why we can see 2 rows of the soldiers up there. And I think that was the inauguration of the telephone central at Ramses Square at the beginning. And inside the museum, we are going to see a very nice telephone machine, very, very interesting, made out of silver, plated with gold, as we are going to see inside.
Among the most important carriages that were presented to the rulers of Egypt as gifts is the carriage that was given by Napoleon III and Queen Eugenie, and that was given to Khedive Ismail in the ceremony of the opening of the Suez Canal in 1869. Khedive Ismail used this royal carriage during his wedding ceremony.
Tell us more about this hall, and definitely you are standing by a masterpiece here,
Yeah.
the masterpiece of the whole hall.
Yeah. This is a closed part of the museum. We just have been to the open part, and we have a lot of carriages here. Some people, they used to call it chariots because it's related with the royal family. But the word carriage is more suitable to define these cars or these vehicles. As you can see, all of them have been dragged by 2 horses, not only 1 horse. That's why we can see the front part of the to stand for 2 horses, one side by side. The most important one, this one, it was a gift by King, let's say, Emperor Napoleon III, and the most important Empress Eugenie. That was a gift for Khedive Ismail for the inauguration of Suez Canal in 1869. As we can see, the alai, as I said before, means marshal. It's very, very well decorated, and there are some parts plated in silver and gold. And as we can see, these parts, the decoration of the wheels, even the assistant of the carriage itself being decorated, and that to get low vibration during as we can see, the roads and the streets being paved in basalt stones, not like as we do nowadays. That's why it was a bit of vibration. That's why, to avoid those vibrations, we have different car assistants. That car was led by a man in front of the car. Sometimes he holds a stick in his hand to open the way front of the car. At the night time, he used to carry a lamp. Even the car itself was lights, as we can see, and the driver of the car or the carriage used to sit up there. And the place where he used to sit is very well prepared, as we can see. It's actually, it's very difficult to tell about that massive beauty, as we can see, that surrounds us.
Another notable example of this wonderful collection of carriages is the Cuban carriage that was used by the Queen and other family members during the opening conference of the Parliament.
Talking about the VIP hall,
Yeah.
and here we have some few pieces actually.
Yeah. This room being added to the museum in the original construction of the museum wasn't, but being added during the reconstruction and the restoration that was done recently. And they gathered some pieces and some artifacts from Al Jawhara Museum in the citadel of Saladin, and some portraits dated back to the royal family. And a very interesting music box there. It looks like a piano. And beside this music box, we have a gramophone. Actually, this being for Princess Fawzia when she was a child, she was young. And here we have the disc of King King Fuad, and very interesting telephone, as you can see, telephone machine. Made out of silver and plated in golden colors. And that bust as well for King Fuad, and the portrait for Khedive Ismail. And we have here another model of chariot. Those little chariots for the princes and the princesses when she been young. That's why it's the small size. And I think was dragged or moved by a pony, a small horse, as we can see.
When I talk about the museum and coming here to visit this place, tell me more about how it is important to have such places to tell us more about the history, more about it's a real portrait of life, how it
Yeah.
used to be, and even sometimes it can be the lifestyle of the peoples who ruled Egypt during a certain period of time.
Yeah. Actually, this museum, in its design and its object, is unique in Egypt. And we have like a kind of museums like this. This is number 4 after some museum being constructed in Austria, in Germany, in Russia, talking about selective topics. Like this is a selective topic, the carriages of the royal family. It's not only talking about the carriages, it's talking about the social life and the political life at that time, and what was exactly the treatment between the different members of the royal family, and how they lived their life, and how was the system, policy system, and transportation, and actually how was the road paved at that time as well. This is very important because it's covering a part of the Egyptian history. Egypt is not only the Pharaoh's time or Islamic or Coptic time. We have to cover also our recent history or the 2 centuries history of the royal family. This is very important part because with this we can cover the whole history of Egypt since the Stone Ages up till now in different museums. And the variety makes attraction. I think that will attract some kind of tourists, especially Arab tourists and Persian tourists, because we know that the sister of King Farouk married with the Shah of Iran. So it's very important to get something talking about this royal family and how, and to know somehow close to the reality of their life and their social life at that time.
During the reign of King Fuad, who ruled Egypt from 1917 till 1922, the carriages were used to transfer the ambassadors of foreign countries during their journey in Egypt. Moreover, the royal carriage that was given to Khedive Ismail as a gift from Queen Eugenie was used to transfer the kings, queens, emperors of Europe and other nations during their trips in Egypt. The Museum of Royal Carriages also has 7 galleries and 20 glass cupboards to preserve and display different types of uniforms that were used in royal carriage affairs, including leather outfits, the ornaments that the horses used to wear, oil-colored paintings, and a large collection of geometrical drawings that illustrate the structural formations of carriages. There are also 8 models of human beings made out of plaster to show the outfits and uniforms. There are also thousands of other items that the people working with the carriages used to wear and use, available for visitors to see.
Well, that was all for today, and always remember, still we have a lot to explore in Egypt. Egypt is a country that is rich with its culture, history, and civilization. And whenever you will visit Egypt, you will find something new to enjoy, and you will find different places to visit. And we always have new discoveries that are taking place every day. That was all for now. Remember to join us again next week, same time, and more on Backpack. Till then, bye.